Good morning and welcome this fourth week of our Wednesday contemplative worship. The beautiful song from Catherine Jenkins that we just listened to, "You Are Not Alone." Beautiful. In the silence we can know that if we are alone, we feel alone, we're actually not alone. So today is a wonderful opportunity for us to maybe just consider something again, what contemplation is all about. I read this week a very interesting way that David Brenner just gave an idea of what contemplation is, working with the original Latin word, the word contemplatio. Con meaning with, templa, a segment of the heavens, and it's a Roman word being used for the place where God dwelled. So with, a place where God dwelled, and tiu, meaning an abiding state. So if you are always glad or happy, that is the state you are in, or you're angry, or you experience a state of grief for a long time, it's an abiding state. So if we put these three words together, contemplation means abiding with God, the place where God dwells, and to be at that space in our attitude and in our awareness. So actually it is exactly the theme that we had on Sunday. It is God who is with us. God with us. It is a practice of living from that stance, from this basis and this rootedness of God who is with us. That is why contemplation is not just the time that we sit together today and we consider a few words and we sit in silence and consider what silence is. It is the basis of our spirituality. It is a practice of abiding with God. God who is with us. So let us light the candle now, and there are the 4 candles. So I want to invite you today, when we light the candles, to really be attentive to the different gifts that God offers us today as light. So we are going to go from the one to the following candle, and being open to receive the gift of God's light. So not rushing through from the one candle to the following one, but really being open to receive this gift as we light the candle. Let us start with the first candle that reminds us that Advent is a time to listen with a hopeful, attentive expectation. So the candle is a candle that reminds us that we have hope, and that this hope is a hope beyond thoughts, beyond rationality. It's based in faith, in not seeing. So let us just for a while receive the light of hope beyond our circumstances, knowing God is with us. The second candle is the candle of peace. Jesus said, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you." The light of Jesus' peace just listen to the words, "My peace I give unto you." You don't have to earn it, just opening up to the light of God's peace in this moment, shining into your light. Maybe it's a busy time, this time of the year, with a lot of things happening, but in the depth, in the attitude of contemplation, abiding with God with us, we can rest in peace amid all the actions and thoughts and responsibilities. Receive the peace of Christ. The third candle is the candle of joy. How special is it that we can receive the joy as a gift, as light we receive from God. Our joy that is always present, even amid difficulties. And our hearts are big enough to have joy at the same time that we receive and we experience grief or loss. There is space for joy, for the light of gladness, for the most beautiful and wonderful and meaningful news of all time. God with us, the ultimate joy. God with you now, the ultimate joy. And the fourth candle is a sign of God's enlightening love. And we do not have a better image of what love is as the love we have in Christ. In the coming of Christ not holding on to God's godlike nature, but becoming a fragile human being. And we see in the ministry of Christ that the overflowing love of God the Father through the Son. If you look at Christ, we see the love of God the Father. And we see in the incarnation the loving presence. So with these four candles lit, let the light of God's gifts in Advent really enlighten your life today. One of the most well-known hymns that we sing in times like these, in Christmas time, and we will definitely sing it also on Christmas Eve, is the well-known song and the hymn Silent Night. It's very interesting that this song captured people's hearts and that it had such a huge impact in all these ages. Just imagine how many people sang this song. It was actually written about 200 years ago by Reverend Joseph Moore. He was an Austrian pastor, but he was born into a very difficult childhood with his father a soldier and mostly absent, and they were very, very poor. An Archbishop of Salzburg took pity on him and helped him. And he loved choirs. He sang in many, many choirs. And then he wrote the words of Silent Night in 1818, 200 years ago. And the music teacher, Franz Gruber, set the song to music. And then, interestingly, for long the song was just used locally, but then an organ tuner came and he heard the song. And this hymn was then as he traveled throughout different parts of Germany and Austria, it became well known. But one of the wonderful things that stood out for me about the history of this song is that there was a profound story that happened a few years ago. Let's say it was in 1914, in the Second World War. Silent Night was known as the song that stopped the war for a day. In some places even longer. It was in Belgium in the First World War, and an extraordinary event played out. The French and the British troops began to make contact on Christmas time because they heard Silent Night. Either of the sides heard Silent Night, and the other side then answered, and the Germans also heard it, and they also sang Silent Night. They exchanged gifts, and there are pictures of how they sang together. More than 100,000 troops had this Christmas truce in 1914, as they exchanged food and gifts and swapped prisoners. They even played some football together. It's interesting that they even have pictures of that, but it was kept a secret for long because the governments didn't want to let their citizens know that actually the other side that they're fighting, there are also Christians on the other side. So this hymn really had a huge impact on the history of even not just personal history, but even in the world. And these words of Silent Night, actually, if you just consider it, we sing it many times, and that's why I thought, let us just at least reflect on the words, so that when we are going to sing these hymns and some of the other hymns, that we can really integrate the message and the calling that we get from this Silent Night. So just the first 4 words, Silent Night and Holy Night, is already an invitation to the silence and the peace, reconciliation, the salvation, our relationship with God that is healed. So there is a depth in the silence, and I really love this context of the story in the war, because it doesn't mean that there are no problems in your life and you don't have challenges. It is a silence amid storms and challenges and even sorrow or grief. But then Holy Night, and as you remember, we considered the word holy when we reflected on the Lord's Prayer, that the word holy has got 2 very important aspects to it. The one is the otherness, the total otherness of God, beyond all the boundaries that we usually see, beyond space and time and physicality. But the other aspect is the intimacy of it. It's the word also being used for marriage in the Hebrew scriptures. So the combination of the other that is intimately with us, a silence of the one, the Holy One with us, and that's why it can be calm and bright, even in tenderness, and that's why we can sleep in heavenly peace. And even if we shudder and quake as the shepherds did in the sight of what happened in front of them, the glories of it, the depth of the silence and the holiness is in Christ that was born for us. And then it ends in the 3rd verse with God's love pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face, with dawn of redeeming grace. In the night, God's pure light. Radiant beams from thy holy face, with dawn of redeeming grace. We are going to sit for a while now with a contemplative silence, and I'd like to invite you to either pick a word from Silent Night or another word that can be a word that's a symbol for your intention to be open to the presence and action of God. It could be the name of God, it could be love or light or silence or holy or whatever word, radiance of the face of God, any word that you want to choose today to be an anchor to practice presence, that God is with us. So that's the invitation for our contemplative prayer, is to practice God with us. Silent night, holy night in this instance. A reminder that our sitting is an invitation not to be busy with thoughts. They will come and go, but let them go. And even when emotions arise, just become aware of these emotions in the presence of God and bring the attention back to just being with God, God with us, introducing your word as a symbol of your intention to be open to the presence and action of God. Just resting and basking in the sun, in the rays of God's presence. And if you feel your thoughts are very busy, that's fine. Offer the light of love, the same radiant light of love from God towards yourself at this moment. No judging, just the embrace of God with us. May this Christmas time be a time for you of receiving the silence, being in the presence of holiness, intimate otherness of God with you. May God bless you with hope and peace and love and light.